10 hottest comic books of the week based off of cover prices data. They come out with this list every Monday. Our show is usually on Friday, so we talk about it then. Chris picks the 3 issues that interest him the most in that list and dissects it, breaks it down, and tells you why you should be interested in it as well. However, today's Wednesday, so it's a fresher list than normal. And I'm excited for Chris to get into it. But first, before Chris does, we are going to list these books off. How about it? All right, here we go. At number 10, we have Star Wars number 2, volume 1. I do believe there's a lot of first appearances in there, including Obi-Wan and Chewie, maybe Han. Number 9 is Invincible Iron-Man number 1. This is Riri Williams, first in the Iron Man or the Iron Heart suit, only on the cover though, not within the issue. At number 8, Daredevil number 25. We all know what happens there. This is 3 weeks in a row it's been on this list, guys. Number 7, Thor, God of Thunder number 2. I am surprised this is not higher on the list. First appearance of Gore the God Butcher. Number 6 is Teen Titans Endless Winter Special number 1. There's also a first appearance in that one. Number 5 is Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron. Number 4, Justice Society of America, the first appearance of Cyclone. Number 3 is Wyrd or Wyrd number 1. Number 2 is the Wyrd number 1 variant cover I got in a dollar bin. I'm pretty happy about that. And number 1 is the comic book that people are finding most interesting here is Solid Blood number 17. Yes, number 17, even though that's the first issue. A lot of questions going there. I have that book as well. I have not read it. Want to hear from you guys what you thought. But before we do that, Chris is we're gonna start breaking it down, Chris, right? Because you got 3 books you picked here.
Yeah. Hey, very surprised to see Daredevil 25 still up there 3 weeks in a row.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, so three books this week. A little bit of a assortment of things, which is always fun, but I had to keep some Star Wars goodness in the mix. My number 3 pick, again, this was my number 1 pick last week. Star Wars number 2, the Marvel Volume 1 run. Guys, this book was still up 100% in sales from last week. But Jeff, tell me if I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think the CGC high for a 9.8 was somewhere around 500 or something. Do you remember?
I'm going to have to check for you. I'll check. I'll get that info to you right.
Guys, yeah, a CGC 9.8 this week sold for $1,000, guys. Look, I talk a lot about hype and spec. We talk about the bell-shaped curves. We talk about short-term versus long-term return on investments. This book is one that is obviously blowing up. You got a really high possibility of seeing a big bell-shaped curve. But I'm going to tell you something. This is a book that was, I think, really undervalued for a long time, that although it might cool off a little bit, I do not think it's coming down that much, if ever. And then again, I always end with talking about the long-term investment in this book, obviously being a Bronze Age Marvel, being the original Star Wars comic book run with all these first appearances of these iconic characters, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Han Solo, Chewbacca. This book is finally hitting it's getting its due. And like I said, I know there's a lot of hype right now because we've been deprived because of COVID, because we had all these announcements with Star Wars. But I have a feeling, I trust that this book, even if, like I said, if it dips off, it cools up a little bit, that long term, this book is going to be one of those hot books for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Obi-Wan series coming out next year as well. So, all right, I want to throw some numbers your way, Chris. In a 9.8, recent sales within the past, let's just say since October. There's one sale in October for $573 for a 9.8, end of October. Middle of November, $595, okay? Then here we go. The 4th of December, which was just a few weeks ago, $875. And then on the 19th, the 20th, and the 21st, you had 3 separate issues that sold for $1,000 a piece.
Nice. Yep. It's it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I ironically, I have my issue in the press right now.
I mean, that's where it should be. It should be in pristine condition, as I expect all your books to be. But all right, moving on. What do we got next?
All right, number 2, how to throw some DC love in here. Hey, look, I gave credit to them with all the Star Wars and Marvel announcements last week, and they dominated. DC still had one book up there in the number 1 spot, but they had a book up here that I had to recognize for my number 2 pick, and that's Justice Society of America, number 1. This is the first appearance of Cyclone, and Cyclone was announced for the Black Adam film. So, of course, movie hype. But look, I picked this book because I think this series is really underrated, and look, the covers, guys, I started collecting this series probably about 8 years ago now, simply because of the amazing covers. Alex Ross, so many iconic covers on this run, but obviously it's getting steam right now because of Cyclone's first appearance in the announcement. 372% increase in sales. CGC 9.8 sold for $106. This is still a very affordable book. If you could find a raw copy for $10 or less in a decently high grade, I say go for it. You have the ability to get it a press and clean, send it out to CGC, maybe make a little money if you're talking about flipping. But keep in mind, this is what I always say about the movie hype. The announcement hit, people are now looking for it. Now, the second thing, we need to be hyped when we come out of the movie theater, right? So if we see the movie and the character was like, and it's forgettable, then hey, people are gonna not pay much attention to the book anymore. So this is another one. It's a modern book. Who knows if this hype is going to retain long term? But like I said, I put it up there just because I like seeing this book on, because I think if you want to read an awesome run or collect a run because of some awesome cover art, this is a solid run to go after.
Yep, Alex Ross, goodness. But there's also a connection to Stargirl as well. I cannot remember what it was. I don't know if it's her first appearance, this version of Stargirl, but there was also, because the Stargirl TV show, there's some sort of connection with that as well. So there's 2 keys in this book. So definitely worth a look if you guys are interested, especially in where DCEU is going as in CW. All right, moving on to your final book of the week. Chris, what do you got?
All right, my number 1 is going to make you happy, Jeff. I wish I would have picked this book up. I thought about it. I remember going through the preview on my comic shop, and I liked it. I saw the cover, and I said, this is really reminiscent of some 1990s goodness. And I was like, So it is what it is. But my number 1 pick is Solid Blood, number 17. What? 17? You talked about that last week, Jeff, where this is the first book, but it's numbered issue 17. What does that mean? So we know that there's a lot of speculation that this somehow correlates to Cates' crossover, and we know what Cates has been doing, just amazing stuff. But Robert Kirkman seemed to be delivering some more amazing stuff of his own. This book had a 438% increase in sale. High Raw has hit $50, guys. So again, a lot of hype. I think look, I didn't read the book. I don't know if you said you still haven't read it yet, Jeff, but look, like I said, there's a lot of appeal to this book within the story, within what it correlates to, and just within how they marketed the book. It's got that awesome 90s, cover goodness. It looks like a Jim Lee or a Rob Liefeld book. Or Eric Larson. Well, it actually has the Youngbloods font, so that Jim Lee 90s image goodness. It's got the newspaper stock paper on the inside pages. A lot of nostalgia around this book, but there's a lot of speculation on what's going on in this story and what it means to, a possible crossover or some kind of ties into Donny Cates. And we all know that Donny Cates has just been anything Donny Cates touched has a lot of hype around it. And, look, we know that Kirkman is a name in himself, but is that possible connection kind of propelling this book to where it's at? That's a question to ask.
That's a good question. I haven't read it yet either. I do love it. I love the paper to it. I love the smell, the old school smell. I know some of you guys are going to relate to that, but man, there's so many interesting things that it could be. You got Crossover 2 coming out. Not sure if it's next week, but that may have some answers as to what this book is. I need to read it before I talk any further on it, but I'll tell you what, Swagger House Comics and Games, that solid book, Blood Book is an interesting one. It's really thin too. I said the same thing last week, Swaggle House, and somebody corrected me that it was paper in there. It wasn't the thick kind of almost cardstock that we get these days with covers and things like that. So it feels like it's thin, but it's an actual full-size comic book. So I said the same exact thing. So yeah, Kid Collector thinks, I think they may do this again. They saw it was successful, so what do they have to lose, really? I mean, it's Kirkman. He can do whatever he wants. That guy, with his Walking Dead money, he can do whatever he wants. And again, I'm excited to read it. I just have a few other things ahead of what things I want to read ahead of it, as well as other things I have to do. It's the holidays, everybody. We're all busy right now. So anyways, but yeah, super excited. That's a great list this week. Absolutely great list. I can't wait for next week, but that is our top 10 hottest comic books of the week.